We have several news updates today, including the Seattle Kraken completing their expansion process and are officially the 32nd franchise. We also have updates on a prospect signing with the New York Rangers. I want to discuss the Wayne Simmonds, Alex Edler situation last night, and the Women's Worlds have been rescheduled as well. We'll get into the latest coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, those of you who have been around for a while probably noticed we have a different intro here today. It's completely different. It's a little bit shorter. I hope you all like it. I'd love some feedback on it as well. So obviously with Seattle becoming the official 32nd franchise and completing their expansion process here today, completing the final payment installment to the NHL, I thought it was time. I know obviously my other intro had in it that we cover all 31 NHL teams, and now we officially have 32 NHL teams, even though it's basically beneficial. They're not really considered like a card club member here until they complete that process and the payments, and that's now officially done. So I thought it was time to freshen up the intro. I basically have used that the entire time I've had this channel, which was, I think it's a little over 3 years now, 3 years and a bit that I've had this channel going. So it was certainly time to refresh things. And obviously now that we don't have 31 teams, I thought it was the perfect day to launch the new, shorter, freshened up intro. So like I said, I'd love some feedback down below. Before we jump into the news here a little further to us, I want to acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Of course, Manscaped has been terrific to deal with for me. Provides some great products for men. Obviously, great customer service as well. And they have a special offer for all Top Shelf Hockey viewers. You can use promo code TSH on manscaped.com orders to save 20% off and get free shipping. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Now, jumping back to today's news, of course, the Seattle Kraken are completely done now with their expansion process and are officially in the NHL. So that means that they could officially sign a player. They could make a trade. I mean, obviously, the only thing they have for trading right now is a few draft picks that are coming up for the 21 draft. They don't have a lot that they can move around, so we likely aren't going to see that, but they can actually do stuff now. They're likely going to be hiring a coach here soon enough. They could have done that sooner, but they've been waiting here. GM Ron Francis has kind of made it clear that he's kind of waiting for the NHL regular season to finish and kind of see if there's going to be any more coaches be made available, and then we'll kind of go from there. Obviously, a lot of the coaches that go deep into the playoffs will likely not be losing their jobs or anything like that, so they wouldn't be people he would talk to. So obviously they already have a list, I'm sure, of at least a few people they're going to talk to here now, coaches that could be in the minors or maybe in the NCAA, or some guys that with experience that are currently not employed, like a Gerard Gallant and maybe a Bruce Boudreau, just to name a couple. And then, of course, like I said, they'll see who else becomes available at the end of the regular season, maybe even wait till the end of the first round of the playoffs, and then we'll go from there and likely get a more of a candidate list and have a better idea who they're actually talking to and going from there. Now, it's also been made well known, now that this process is complete, that the NHL and the Kraken completely want to make the expansion draft a real made-for-TV event with a lot of flair, a lot of celebrity involvement, and they want to go pretty grand scale on this. So certainly going to be a fun process. Hopefully they can have an event with fans in attendance, considering where things are at in the U.S. and we're still a couple months away from that happening. I would assume that's likely going to be a real possibility. So that should be fun. And obviously doing mock drafts is something we'll continue to look at here on the channel as a fun exercise to try to figure out and determine who are going to be the first and original members of the Seattle Kraken franchise. Now, on to a few other notes here. As I mentioned, we have the Women's World Championships have been officially rescheduled. The IIHF made the announcement earlier today, and as we suspected, they will take place in August. Like pretty much immediately after the Premier of Nova Scotia abruptly canceled the event that was supposed to take place in May between Halifax and Truro, Nova Scotia. The IIHF essentially didn't really know what to do. They didn't have a backup plan in place, and I really think that that's kind of on them. That looked bad that they didn't have any contingencies, and really, I think only stepped up after a major pushback from the players and fans, etc., to make sure this gets done. And several other cities also stepped up to offer to host. Now, the event will continue to be hosted in Canada, but we don't have the exact location here as of yet. I know on TSN Insider Trading, Darren Dreger had reported, which makes sense here, that Alberta is probably the most likely leading province to host it, with Calgary being the most likely city, but Edmonton's not far behind either. I mean, obviously, they showed what they could do in that Edmonton bubble for the NHL. They could do something similar for this tournament as well. I know the city of Ottawa, I believe, was offering to host 2, and I think Abbotsford, BC, and there might have been 1 or 2 others too. So there's not going to be any shortage. So this gives the IIHF time to really evaluate all those locations and determine what they're going to do. But it will be held between August 20th and the 31st, which is huge. I mean, the event was canceled last year. Plus, with the Olympics coming up next year, this is a really important tournament for these women to have a chance to play for Olympic seeding and all that. So it's nice to see that it's going to come together. It's a little later than expected, but as the old expression goes, better late than never. So good news on the Women's World Championships there. Now, as I mentioned, we also have a prospect signing here today as well. The New York Rangers have signed another prospect from Finland, which is right winger Lauri Pajaniemi, who was a 5th-round pick in 2018, been playing in Finland in Liga for the past few years, has put up some pretty decent numbers. Every year's numbers seem to be getting better, which is a good sign. He had 38 points in 48 games this past year, so not quite clear exactly where he's going to play in the fall season coming up. I don't know if he'll come to North America. He could still remain over in Finland, but given that he's been drafted now for 3 years and has been playing over there, I would assume that it makes good sense for him to make the jump. But we'll have to wait to be seen here. But, another guy added to the Rangers prospect pool that's already pretty deep in talent here. And of course, I also wanted to discuss quickly the situation that happened last night between the Canucks and the Maple Leafs, which to be honest, I'm not even sure why we're talking about it, but at the same time, the Canucks media seem to be all over it. And I just kind of wanted to throw my 2 cents in there because I really don't think this is a whole big deal, really worth discussing at great length at all. So in case you forget, quick rewind here. Alex Edler of the Vancouver Canucks had a knee-on-knee situation with Leafs forward Zach Hyman, which has put him on the shelf for an extended period of time. It was a dirty knee. Obviously, Edler had been on the ice for an extended period of time, was finally getting to the bench, and as he was on his way, had a collision where he stuck out his leg and had a knee-on-knee with Hyman. Now, a lot of people seem to be kind of cutting him some slack because he was stuck on the ice for such a long shift, which I don't understand either. Still doesn't give you the right to be reckless just because you're tired. It doesn't mean your brain completely stops working. And a long-time NHL veteran like him should really know better. He's had a few situations in the past. Now, they've been a long time ago, but he's not a player who's got a completely flawless history, but we'll just take that out of the picture here. That's really not important either because they were a long time ago and he's had a long stretch, a good career of, really nothing too serious going on. And really that's that. Now, when it comes to this though, this is the first time that they've really had a chance to play since that incident. Wayne Simmonds is protecting his teammate, sticking up for his team and his teammate, and decided he wanted to have a piece of Edler to kind of settle the score. So they were battling in behind the net. Simmonds was giving them a few little bumps and cross checks, and they dropped the gloves and they went at it. I mean, Edler to me looked like he was a willing combatant. He didn't seem to be turtling and running away or anything like that. Simmonds got him pretty good. He had a pretty good bump there on his left cheekbone. Whatever. Like that's what happens when you do a dirty hit. Sometimes you have to answer the bell, and really it happens in the NHL all the time. But I heard Canucks media going on about lack of respect for Alex Edler, who's been in the NHL a long time. Wayne Simmonds has they said 77 fights to Alex Edler's 0. It doesn't really matter. If you do something like that, you're gonna have to answer for it. It's just end of the story. Yes, he was suspended, but I just don't understand why it's such a big deal. Why are they crying over this? You see it all the time. If the role was reversed here and it was a different situation, let's just say one of the Leaf players, maybe a guy like, let's say Mitch Marner, who's a skilled guy, not really known to be out there playing physical, being dirty. Let's say that he takes out a Canuck player and then later on he gets challenged by, say, Zach McEwen, for example, or Tyler Myers, or Roussel if he's in the lineup, or whatever. Is that going to be a big deal? I assume that Vancouver would be like, oh, good, finally somebody's sticking up for our team and their teammate. It's just how things go. I'm not even sure why Canucks media was making such a big fuss about it this morning. It seemed like everybody on Twitter is just kind of in a rage over this. I'm like, what is the big deal? So let me know what your thoughts are. Was this a big deal? Do you see this like I do, that it's just a common occurrence that a dirty play happened and you had to answer the bell and let's all just kind of move on? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments, and we'll discuss further, along with, of course, your thoughts on all the other news discussed here today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.